Hello everyone, my name's Katrina and welcome to my first video in a new video series about rereading my favourite books. Essentially, I thought it would be a really interesting project to revisit some of my favourite books of all time, see if they stood the test of time, and to also see if my reading experience has differed in any other ways, other things that I have forgotten or things that I remembered differently, and upon rereading I'm like, oh my gosh, my brain has done a ridiculous thing remembering or not remembering this fact. Nevernight is one of my favourite books of all time. This series is one of my favourite series of all time. It is a fantasy series about a young assassin, Mia Corvair. Her father was sentenced to death and her life goal is to seek revenge and kill the three men responsible for her father's death. In order to do this, she decides to join the Red Church, which is a cult-like school for assassins. If she's gonna kill these men, she's gonna do it right. For those of you who haven't read Nevernight, I will begin with a bit of an overview of my rereading experience before going into a bit of a vlog section where I do talk about spoilers. So if you have read Nevernight, you can continue and watch the whole video. If you haven't, I will give you fair warning when I dive into spoiler territory. But I just wanted to give myself the opportunity to talk about all of the things in as much detail as possible, so the vlog section will be full of spoilers. If you haven't read the books, you are safe to watch this next section talking about my rereading experience. So, to begin, my overall thoughts on my reread of Nevernight. I still absolutely adore Nevernight and I really enjoyed rereading this book. I did find it really interesting some of the details that I had forgotten. Now, of course, a lot of the really minuscule world building details wouldn't have stuck with me, especially a lot of the things that we learn about in the footnotes. I, of course, did not expect to remember all of those, and I didn't. But there were some things from the main story that I had forgotten that I was kind of surprised I'd forgotten about. In most cases, I was like, oh, yeah, I totally forgot this happened. But now that this particular scene or sequence has started, I remember what it's all about. There were, however, a couple of instances where I'd forgotten pieces of information completely. So there were a couple of mysteries I was thinking about through this book and waiting for the reveal to happen. I also found it really interesting to go back and read Nevernight after having already finished God's Grave, the second book, and see some of the little seeds that Jay planted in this book that allude to greater things, which at the time you wouldn't have thought anything of, or didn't realize it would be a key piece of information later on in the series. So I thought that was very interesting, going back and picking up on some of those. And I guess the last thing I want to mention is how nice it was to revisit the Red Church and re-experience Mia in these different classes and learning different skills, being put through these different trials and tasks. So it was really nice to go back to that. Like, I honestly really love God's Grave and the direction that the series took in that book, but it was really nice to go back to the Red Church and re-experience all of that because it's one of the main things that made me love this series to begin with, not to mention the characters that we meet. So overall, it was absolutely a wonderful experience rereading Nevernight. Still a 5-star read, hands down, wouldn't doubt it for a second. And that's about all that I'm going to say for this quick overview section. If you have not read Nevernight, I would strongly suggest not continuing and watching the vlog because I go into all sorts of nitty-gritty details and spoil some major things. So if you have not read Nevernight and do not want to be spoiled, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. But if you have read Nevernight and want to proceed into the spoilery, vloggy reaction portion of this video, then continue watching. I'm so excited to be jumping back into this book. It's been way too long. It hasn't been that long, maybe a year, I'd say. I also have my handy dandy annotating tools. I have my pen and ruler. I'm going to be underlining things and writing in the margins, and I decided on red because appropriate. We're talking about assassins here, blood, guts, gore, as well as my sticky notes. So these are the ones that I like to use. There's 10 different colors. I'm just rambling now because I'm scared excited to jump back into this. I don't know why I'd be scared to jump back into one of my favorite series, but it's always just like that feel like, oh, what if it's not as good as I remembered it? What if just like since I've read the book, I've just hyped it up more in my mind? I don't think that's going to be the case with this one. Anyway, I'm taking you on this adventure with me diving back into Nevernight, which is one of my favorite books of all time. First of all, I just can't get over how beautiful the maps are. There's the map of God's Grave. Almost just whacked myself in the face. Can I just say this is one of my favorite first lines of all time? People often shit themselves when they die. It just really encapsulates the tone of the book. I feel it really just summarizes it in so few words. There's a lot of death, there's a lot of people shitting themselves, both figuratively and literally, and it also, I feel like, is a metaphor for myself. Not literally, obviously, but whilst reading this book, I die. And I'm just shitting myself over all the things that I'm being put through. It really resonates with me. I might just readjust the camera angle so you can see me annotating and writing things a little bit easier while I'm reading. But let's get on with this. This first page is just so powerful. It summarizes everything you're going to experience in this series without really telling you how things are going to go down, so you're still going to be left surprised. She's dead herself now. From page 1, you know that Mia is going to die at some point. Actually, the first time I read it, I completely forgot that fact because, you know, I read the first page of a book I'd never touched before. I didn't know the characters. I hadn't grown attached to Mia, so it was just went over my head really. And rereading Nevernight, I read that and I was like, oh my god, not my precious Mia, how dare you. Anyway, book 1, When All Is Blood. Excuse me. And if you're worried about picking up an assassin book and there not being enough assassin-y stuff, Mia kills a guy in the first 10 pages. Just saying. Ah, Mr. Kindly. Mia's talking to Mercurio and she's like, should I give her Gravebone Dagger a name? And he said, you could, I suppose, but what's the point? And she's like, it's this bit. She touched the blade's tip, the part you stick them with. It's one thing to go around killing a bunch of people because people are assholes. We all know that, it's a fact. But to murder a kitten, the nerve. I'm very mad. Just that, witnessing that scene where the dude just kills the innocent little kitty. I'm not okay. I'm never okay. And that just makes it all the more kind of like heartbreaking that Mr. Kindly, when he shows himself to Mia, takes the form of a cat. And it's sweet and it's heartbreaking. I'm about 40 pages in. I've been making lots of scribbles, lots of notes. I really like to, especially with fantasy novels, highlight some of the world building stuff, which is why you'll probably see a lot of green post-it notes at the start. Oh, hello.
Hello.
How many are left?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Ow!
What a shot.
Yeah. Thank you. When I was in New Zealand, I went to a confectionery place with lemon truffles, like white chocolate and lemon. Greatest thing on earth. He's in heaven right now. Now that Alex is here, I probably won't get much more progress done on Nevernight, but because I feel like we're going to watch Avatar. If we were watching something else, I could focus on Nevernight, but we'll probably watch Avatar: The Last Airbender.
My favourite animated series ever.
Ever. I get way too excited about watching Avatar. So I'm sorry, Nevernight, but if Avatar's on the screen, my attention is not wavering. Do you want to watch Avatar? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so that's me. I'm gonna wrap up my reading for tonight. I'm sad to see you go.
But I love to watch you leave.
Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar.
We are nearing the halfway point, and yes, We have reached the Red Church now. I haven't done a bit of an update in a little while, so I'm just trying to recap and see if there's anything notable that I wanted to mention. As I've been reading, there have been a few small things here and there which I'm like, oh, this is alluding to something that we don't yet know, but we'll find out in the next book. I also marked out the page where they're basically right in front of the Quiet Mountain, and there's the Discord, which basically like makes people very violent whilst also very horny. So there was just that weird scene where Mia and Trick just like both wanted to rip each other to shreds whilst simultaneously fucking each other. So it was just such an interesting scene. And then we also had the scene where Mia was her usual smartass self and as a result got her arm chopped off. Fuck is right. It's just not pleasant whatsoever. And the Athenaeum, the library, I just love this passage. So it's just a forest of ornate shelves laid out like a garden maze, and on each shelf stood books, piles of books, mountains of books, oceans and oceans of books. Too many books, too few centuries. So true. Progress is being made. So what has happened so far? Okay, well, this morning on the bus ride to work, it was a very busy bus, and I happened upon the first sex scene. I decided to skip it because I was not up for putting myself in that awkward position of just being hyper aware of being surrounded by so many people that could see, if they looked, what was happening on the page when it was a really smutty scene. So I skipped over it, and during lunch today I went back and reread that smutty scene, and work has finished for the day. I've done a little bit more reading. Sorry, I've got makeup on my hand. And I've happened upon the second smutty scene. There's been a couple of instances where I realized I've forgotten things. I'd completely forgotten that they were going to be tortured. When we come to the point where they're going to God's grave, I was like, oh yeah, okay, something happens here. And when she bumps into the puppy strangler, that asshole that tried to kill her when she was younger, I was like, okay, maybe this is it. And then she's on the run, and then she starts being trailed. I was like, oh yeah, something else happens. And I'd forgotten what it was until wham bam, she's getting tortured. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And it's all part, it's a test. And the fact that Lottie is murdered, I knew that from the start that she was going to be killed by one of the acolytes, but I've forgotten who killed her. It's either Ash or Hush, I think, but I've actually completely forgotten who was the person responsible for killing her. And then, oh my gosh, the whole scene where Mia, she is seen as guilty and she's going to be sentenced to 50 lashes and being like banned from Spider Killer's trial, and then Trick comes in being like, no, she couldn't have done it, she's not guilty because I was getting it on with her all night last night. So physically impossible for her to go out and murder someone. And then he's sentenced to 100 lashes for being out after 9 bells. And then Mia chimes in being like, no, he shouldn't get the whole punishment because I told him to come, so we should split it and have 50 lashes each. Just, both of these characters are too good. And now, mid-scourging, Mia has fallen into a flashback of the True Dark Massacre, which is super intense. She's walking through the Philosopher's Stone. She's just shadow stepped 5 floors above. And then it's one saw her stepping towards her with a death's head grin. She looked towards him and the darkness simply tore him apart. Like that imagery just being like, oh my god. Epic, gruesome, bloody, but epic. Love it. Anyway, I have to head off now. Alex is picking me up from the train station in a little bit, but I probably won't get too much reading done tonight. But tomorrow, on my way from Alex's back home, I should be able to get a good chunk of this done. Alright, so today is the day that I need to put this vlog up, so I'm going to power through the end of Nevernight. I continued reading a little bit more on the bus home, which you guys would have seen a little bit of, and I did show a few of the annotations that I wrote when I was on the bus as well, but I want to take this moment to say that Mia, I understand why you did the things you did, why You toyed with Trick's heartstrings. Why you called him that dreaded word? But just, I can't quite forgive you for putting him through all of that turmoil. Like, it was still cruel. It was still very cruel. So I'm talking about Solace's trial, and it came down to Mia and Trick. And you know how Mia decided to let Trick win because she had a better chance of winning Spider Killer's trial. Instead of like going easy on him because he would have picked up on that, everyone would have picked up on that, she tried to make him angry so that he fought harder and overcame her. And that's exactly what she did, and she was cruel about it. Then after all of this, Trick goes to her room and he basically says, oh, it breaks my heart. We were fools to let it get this far. You hear me, Mia? You and me? Never again. I just, like, Mia. It makes me so sad because like that's a totally reasonable thing for Trick to do, because Mia did use him and like getting into his bed the night before. On the one hand, I'm glad that he's not letting Mia do all this and just ends up falling at her feet and being like, come back to me, I forgive you, blah blah, because like she said some cruel things even if it's for his own good, as she says. So I'm really glad by that. It just makes me so sad because I love Trick, I love my darling, I don't want his heart to be broken, and Mia is breaking it, and then he goes and breaks Mia's heart by being like, never again. And it just, I understand everything, but everything still hurts. You know what I mean? I'm settling into bed now. What page am I on? I'm on page 374, just at chapter 30, so I've got a little left to go. Anyway, wait, do I have any other things that I wanted to talk about that I just read? Oh yes, Mia's a genius. I fucking love it. Going back to when she's at breakfast and she has her notes at her with the table. And she's talking to Ash, and Ash says something which triggers an idea in Mia's brain, and she's like, oh, Ashlyn, I could kiss you. This whole scene I love so much. And Ash says, I thought you'd never ask. And then Mia responds, you're a fucking genius. And then she stands up, hold her close, and planted a loud kiss square on her lips. First of all, this makes me very happy because I'm sure Ash was just overjoyed by this turn of events. All for that. But also putting on a big show, being like, I've solved it. I've cracked the code. I have the antidote. It's all part of her master plan to basically lure either Jess or Diamo to try and steal her notes. And in doing so, it's false. It's not the actual antidote. Diamo the next morning is like, ha ha ha, I've figured it out. And then proceeds to make the antidote and consume the antidote, thinking he's won, but Mia's like, oh, nah, bish. All part of my terrible, evil, cold-hearted genius plan. When Mia says, still, I wondered if Diamo would offer you the notes instead. Lucky for you, you're better with a blade. And chivalry's as dead as he is. You're full of shit. Am I? Look across. Diamo's like, Jess, blah, blah, blah. Blood coming from his mouth, dying. And then Jess is like, oh goddess, D. And then Mia's like, whoop-pah! Stabs her in the gut. Beautiful. So fucking beautiful. Oh, and also the fact that Mia was secretly training with Nave so that all of the people in Solace's class were underestimating her until it came to these trials, and then she just wows everybody with her epic blade skills. I love Mia. She's so smart. So brilliant. And just overall, I love the banter, especially with Ash. She's just always hilarious. She's always talking with her mouth full as well though, which not a fan of, but it's amusing. And then the writing style, an orchestra of screams, and she, the Scarlet Maestro. Like, can we just take a moment to appreciate the writing? I honestly really adore the writing style in this. I'm all for all of the metaphors and the similes. A lot of the parallels between music and death I find so fascinating, like the death dance is when they get hanged and then the twitching and flailing and blah blah blah. Anyway, up to chapter 30, ramble time over. You guys, I'm sure, would rather just see me sit here and read for a little bit, so that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna shut my mouth and enjoy Nevernight. I need another pillow. I'm just gonna zoom in a tiny bit so you can get a better look at my double chin. Perfect. See, I'm already starting to slide down. This is why I need so many pillows, to like try and keep me somewhat upright but comfortable, you know, because if I slide down and I end up reading horizontally, I will fall fast asleep. I don't drink coffee and I rarely drink tea. Maybe I need to start drinking more caffeine so I can actually read without falling asleep. The real question is, do I need to start an addiction to feed my other addiction? It's either that or feed my sugar addiction, which is out of control. and does not help my figure whatsoever. Lol, typo. Okay, actually one thing that I wish we could have gotten in more of an insight into was what kinds of secrets were being given to Alia. We do get a bit of an insight into some of the rumors, like the uproar that Consul Scaver enlisted his like 7-year-old son into the Illuminati, Justicus Remus siring a bastard on some senator's daughter, talk that Scaver was quietly agitating to be named Imperator. Those are some of the secrets that Mia reported to the Shahid. But I wanted to know more. Give me more. I want some real juicy gossip, man. Oh, okay. So Hush has just walked in. She's out after 9 bells. She got a dispensation trying to figure out the antidote for Spider Killer's trial, and then Hush comes in and he helps her in some way, but I've completely forgotten all about this, actually. Which trial did he win? Oh, he's gonna win Mouse's trial because he steals something massive and surpasses Ash. Is that right? Have I remembered things correctly? Oh my god, I've got the worst memory. Brutal. Hush sneaks in at the last minute and takes the crown. Oh, Ash is so upset and disappointed. Oh, goat-loving, meal-sucking, pig-fucking son of a bitch. I just love the colourful curse words that we find in fiction. Ash is sulking and Mia's like, well, sulking's not gonna solve anything. You should go to God's grave and try at least to find a secret. Even if it might not work, it's better than doing nothing. And then Mia's like, look, I'll come with you. And Ash is like, I think I'd best go alone. Dun, dun, dun. I agree completely with Ash's observation. She says to Mia, you know, folk around here have got you figured for a ruthless bitch after that stunt with Diamo. I mean, she can be a ruthless bitch, but I know better. Someone hurts those you love, you'll not forgive it. But underneath it all, you're a good sort, Corvair. Ah! More clues! Ash is just getting all cryptic. She's like, sometimes I wonder what you're doing in a place like this, Mia. Since when do you call me Mia? I'm serious. You should be sure. Of what? If you really want to be here tomorrow eve. Where else would I be? Oh! Ashlyn won Alia's trial. I forgot that detail as well. So Ash is saying goodbye to Mia and she kisses Mia and then Mia says, say goodbye to Trick for me, and Ash, her face drops. Ding 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 ding. How goes, Tricky? Oh, I'm not ready for this. I really don't want to turn this page. You guys know what's about to happen. He deserves so much better than that. Oh yeah. Fuck. Oh my god. I forgot about that. When Oz was getting close with Carlotta and got her to produce a toxin to basically poison all of the Red Church at the initiation feast. Oh yeah, I forgot about that too. Wow. So many small details that I just like completely forgot. I think she just realized the Trick is probably not alive. I forgot how this resolves. Oh no, I remember now. All good. We good. Even though it's not talking about sex, I still love this line. I believe it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind. Truth. She is just about to tick one off her to-die list. My battery died. I'm back. What just happened? Oh, she just killed Justicus Remus. Girl slays! In Lord Cassius's dying moment, he anoints her as a blade. So sad he had to die. I wanted more Lord Cassius. Epilogue! Oh my god, I can't believe I just reached the end. Like, I knew that was like the end of the story, but I forgot it just ends like that. Ah, yes, I've been waiting for this moment. Like, the whole book, I love it when, like, now that Trick has died, the promise that Mia made to Trick was to kill his grandfather for being an absolute dickbag. So Mia goes and kills the dude, and I'm so excited for this. Give it to me. Yes! Yes! Poison. Am I enjoying this guy's death too much? Maybe a little bit, but tell me more. Ah, she granted him a slow and painful death. I do not want to be in my of Trick. No! He's got his unnamed tomb. His body was never recovered at all. My heart just breaks because Trick was just too good. He had a heart of gold. He was a killer, yes, obviously, a ruthless killer. He got skills. He deserved more from life. I'd also forgotten the detail about Lord Cassius anointing her as a blade as he was dying. And as I was reading it, I was like, okay, so she's been, like, disqualified. She didn't pass the final test, essentially. And obviously, a lot of the Shaheeds and Drusilla are not happy with her, not pleased whatsoever, especially Spider Killer, because that was her champion. And I was like, wait, how did she become a blade again? Did they just let her because she saved the day? Like, is that what happened? I was like, surely there's more to it than that. And there was. I'd forgotten the fact that Cassius anointed her before he died. There, Mr. Kindly and Eclipse are already at each other's throats, essentially. I finished! Also, look at all these beautiful tabs. They're so glorious. I don't really know what to say now. I finished it, you guys. In general, know my thoughts on the book, and it certainly has not changed. I thoroughly enjoyed doing this, and I really liked talking about it on camera as well. I thought this was a really cool experience. Also, annotating it, so anytime I wish to go back and reread Nevernight, I can do so with my fully annotated edition and add some more notes if there's anything else, anything new that arises, I suppose. My third read of Nevernight now complete. That is all that I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I went rereading Nevernight by J. Kristoff. That is all that I have for now. I will be back with a new video and hopefully back with another rereading my favourite books video too. So if you have any suggestions on books that you've heard that I really love in the past but haven't talked about in a while, definitely leave those recommendations below. But until next time, I will talk to you in the comments. Bye!